So, what is more important, emotional mastery or mental mastery? So, I'm going to ruin it here for you first and give you the answer. The answer is both, but one is actually more important than the other one, and it's actually emotional mastery. But first, my name is Pradeep Sangha. I am a performance and business advisor to CEOs globally, men who are either in executive positions, CEOs, or owners of their own business and consider themselves entrepreneurs. So, what does it take to be a high performing man? And it simply comes down to this. Yes, you need to have mental mastery, being able to control your thoughts, but you also need to have emotional mastery. And when you combine the two, it's extremely powerful. But let's just separate them for a moment here. Let's just say if you had to choose between one or the other, do you focus on mental mastery, meaning getting your mind in check and actually working through those mental challenges, or the emotional mastery? So let's talk about the mental mastery. Yes, it's important to master your mind. It's very, very, you can say, critical to be successful in business, to be successful in life, because your mind definitely does run the show. So the challenge, though, when it comes to having mental mastery, is that you don't have complete control over your mind. It's a lot more difficult because your mind is designed to run wild. In fact, it's what they call the default mode network, which is, you could say, kind of like daydreaming. And studies have shown that about 47% of the time to 50% of the time, you're in this, you can say, mode of thinking, meaning that you're kind of drifting off. You're in, you can say, la la land. You're thinking about things that's not exactly, you can say, to doesn't have much to do with what you're doing in the moment. You're not focusing on the task at hand. Now, scientists say that there's a an evolutionary benefit from this, and part of that is creativity. Part of that is actually to be open to a broader spectrum of thinking, and I think there's a lot of validity to that because my background's in innovation and creativity, and I do believe and I do agree that being able to get into that mode, that default mode, does allow you to be more creative because you get these spontaneous thoughts of creativity. Scientists also show that, and they haven't nailed this down because it's almost virtually impossible to nail down the exact number of thoughts that you have throughout the day. Now, some people say it's roughly around 15,000 to 85,000 thoughts per day. Now, think about that. That is a lot of thoughts. And the majority of those thoughts can be unconscious or are unconscious. The majority of how our brain works is behind the scenes. It's kind of like watching a Cirque du Soleil show. From Canada myself, so I'm gonna lean on that analogy. But what you see, the show that you see in front of you, is just a part of the overall thinking, is part of the overall game. The mass majority of the workings is actually behind the scenes. It's all of that training that happens behind the scenes. It's all that blood, sweat, and tears, the hours that people put into it. That's kind of like your mind as well, because the thoughts that you have at the forefront actually are dwarfed by your unconscious thoughts. So it's virtually impossible to fully master your mind because your mind is not designed to be mastered. It's going to go astray. That's why Buddhists and a lot of the ancient philosophies talk about the monkey mind, right? This mind that constantly is jumping up and down, going from one place to another. Not that it's not doable, not that you can't tame your mind, not that you can't, you can say, control your mind to a certain degree and master it, but you will never master it at 110%. Your brain is not designed to do that. So let's just, you can say, complete this thought here. From a mental mastery perspective, you cannot master it 110% because your brain is not designed to be mastered completely. You can get to a certain level through meditation, through mindfulness practices, through conscious thinking, pause before you actually react, inner deep reflection. All of these types of strategies actually help you master your mind, but you can't get there fully. Now, think about it from the other perspective. We're going to go into emotional mastery here. Emotional mastery is having control over your emotions. And our emotions have a far more significant impact in terms of how we perform than we think, and how we actually make decisions, and how we interact with the world around us, to the point where a large number of scientists agree that emotions are far more powerful than your thoughts. Now, your thoughts do feed off your emotions, and your emotions feed off your thoughts. But just think of it from this perspective. When you are feeling crappy, it impacts your thoughts significantly, far more significantly than if you are thinking crappy. And here's what I mean by that. Is your body, let's just say you didn't eat some or you ate something that was bad, maybe you have a stomach ache, it impacts your thinking significantly. And when you feel something, when you go through a traumatic event or when you go through something that you dislike, you feel it in your body. You have a physiological reaction. And that physiological reaction can actually completely paralyze you, right? Or it can paralyze your thinking, it can paralyze your decision making. So when you feel upset, it has a massive impact on your thinking and your performance. And I would argue that it has a far bigger impact than your mental state because your body is how you actually move around through this world. You don't think through this world, you actually move through this world using your body. And your body carries the emotions. And so if you learn to modify your body, you can actually impact your mind significantly. So think about this. If you're sitting at your desk and you're having a crappy day, well, if you actually get up and move around and change your physiology, you can actually impact your thoughts into a more positive state. In fact, when we work with men, we get them to focus on their body to influence their mind. We get them to get up, do something physical, exercise, walk in nature, practice mindfulness from the perspective of feeling it through your body. So, using your body and mastering your body is actually far more, you can say, doable because can you master your emotions? I'm going to say yes. You are far more likely to be able to master your emotions for a number of reasons. A, because we have a finite number of emotions. It's not like your thoughts. Let's just say if you're 85,000 thoughts per day, it's hard to keep track of those. But let's just say, even if you had a few hundred different emotions throughout the day, it's far more, you're far more capable of mastering those emotions because there's far a fewer amount of emotions and you can actually compartmentalize them. And you can actually track them a lot easier than you can track your thoughts. So if you can measure your emotions, if you can track your emotions, it's far easier to be able to manage and master those emotions. So there's fewer emotions throughout the day. And you have a bigger influence on your emotions than you think. You can actually use your body to influence your emotions, as I talked about. This is why ancient practices such as Tai Chi, Qi Gong, yoga, Kung Fu, martial arts, all of these are ways to master your body. Movement actually helps you shift your state, your emotional state. So if you're having a crappy day, get up and move your body because that blood flow actually helps you change from a, let's just say, a negative state into a positive state. So use your body, move your body. Another way to influence your emotions is your words. Now, our words carry weight. So when we say something, our body is actually listening and reacts. So if you say if I'm sitting here saying I am weak, my body is actually going to be less weak. Studies have actually shown this. If I say I'm stronger, I'm far more likely to be stronger. In fact, I used to use this technique when I was working out. I used to use affirmations all the time to be able to lift more, to be able to bench more, squat more. And I could tell my words directed my workout performance. And the same goes through for my business. If I am not speaking effectively in a positive, optimistic state, my body feels that. And therefore, I feel more lethargic. I don't feel as confident. I don't have as much clarity. So, words have power as well. Now, there's something else just as important and probably more controllable than anything else because you might be thinking, well, you're in the middle of a board meeting and someone is doing something to upset you. For some reason you're upset. Well, you can't get up and start walking around, right? And you can't start fidgeting in your chair. You're going to look kind of odd. And you can't sit there and start talking to yourself with affirmations because people are going to think you're wacko. But what you can do is control your breathing. You have absolute control over your breathing. So if you take a look at all of those practices from ancient, whether it's Asia, or India, whatever area that you want to look at, it really is control of your breathing. So when you control your breathing, you have control over your physiology. So deep breathing is very, very important. And I'll probably do a segment on deep breathing or different techniques of breathing on its own because there's a lot to unpack there. But if you learn how to breathe more effectively, you're actually going to control your physiology and control your emotions. Um, I worked with one person in particular who was dealing with a lot of challenging situations. They were a negotiator, and when you negotiate, you go through some pretty difficult emotions because you're dealing with other people's emotions. You're dealing with their frustrations, but also your frustrations in terms of communicating with both parties. And taught him a technique of breathing. And out of his first negotiation, after we had taught him the breathing exercise, he came out and said, Pradeep, you know what? I've never felt this way before during a tough negotiation. Before, he would come out completely drained and just be out for the rest of the day. Now he came out of this session feeling completely alive, re energized, and felt a lot better. So he's able to do more of these negotiations every single day as a result of this. So let me just wrap it up here for you. If you want to perform better, and ultimately, if you want to have a better life in general, if you want to be a better partner, you want to be a better husband, you want to be a better father, focus on your emotional mastery. That's where the secret is. That's where the magic is. Yes, focus on your mental mastery, but if you have to focus on one or the other, depending on the time restrictions that you have and your focus, I would lean more towards emotional mastery. That is the number one thing. When someone asks me, what can a man do to improve his performance? I always say, master your emotions.